Jimbo, now when anybody can mention you, besides being a Super Bowl champion, besides being from the Bears, the label Hall of Fame is now part of your introduction. What does that mean to you?
Oh, well, I think when when you look back on your career and all the way from high school to college and then playing for the Bears, I mean, I was just been really fortunate to play on winning teams on every level, all the way from high school to college and then to the Bears. So, I mean, I just kind of look at it and say I'm such a fortunate person to be involved with such great organizations and great teammates and coaches. So I kind of look at it as that, not an individual honor. I kind of look at it more as a team honor because of all the great teams that I played on and all the great coaches I had, all the way back from high school to Joe Moore in college and Dick Stanfield, and so I kind of look at that as a big team effort, not so much an individual award.
And that's the way you are.
Yeah, thank you.
Were you wondering if it was ever going to happen? Because it did take a while for you to get this honor.
I think there were times that I felt that way, but at the end of the day, I think when the format changed a little bit with the Centennial Committee, and Dan Pompei and I were talking, and it was just, now the perspective in the room changed. It wasn't just, writers, not saying anything bad against writers, it just wasn't writers and the perspective they had. And I think longevity of my career was really what was hurting me. So, and when the new Centennial Committee came in place, it just wasn't writers. It was coaches like, Bill Belichick and, Dick LeBeau, and then personnel guys like Carl Peterson and Ron Wolf, and players like Ozzie Newsome. And I think the perspective in the room changed and people looked at it completely different. And, Dan told me that he felt that it was one of the best processes he was ever part of, because there was such a different, kind of understanding of what a player means to a team. And that was helpful to me. That helped me. So when that happened, excuse me, I got a little more encouragement, and then things just fell into place. So I was just very fortunate to have that type of a selection process.
One final question. Do you think there will be anybody else from your line mates that will make the Hall of Fame?
Oh, I hope so. I think I think Jay Hilgenberg has a great chance, and it's tough for centers. I know that. It's tough for anybody as well to get in. The process is very difficult. But he certainly has a chance and deserves that. It's just, like I said, the process for me, I remember one time I was talking to Dan Marino years ago, and he said, "Hey man, it's really tough to get in." And I think he was more preparing me for not getting in than getting in. And so, like I said, it just happened to have everything fall in place for me this year. And maybe if it was next year, it wouldn't happen. So I'm just grateful.
Thank you. Congratulations. It's great seeing you.
Thank you. Same to you, Cheryl. Thank you.
Great. Next question, Larry Mayer.
Hey, Jimbo, how you doing?
Hey, Larry, how you doing this morning?
Good, good. I'm sure your company appreciates the product placement you got going there.
Yeah, I was trying to figure that out, but it was too late. So,
that's good.
But good. No, I think my team at Cressy and Company will appreciate that.
Yeah, so. I think they will. Just wanted to know your thoughts on actually receiving the ring and being back at Soldier Field for a Bears game. And not only that, but being Alumni Weekend, getting the chance to see a lot of your former teammates.
No, I think it's great. And I think the best thing about this whole entire year, I guess almost 2 years now, because of, the pandemic and we didn't get a chance to celebrate last year, but, all the two classes celebrated together, was just, being with family and friends and teammates. That was the most important thing to me in the whole process, because, there's guys that you played with and, friends that you've had all the way since, grade school. Some you stay in contact, some you don't. But when you all are able to get together for something like this, that was the most meaningful thing for me, is, you know, really celebrating with all of them. So, I mean, this weekend, it's the same thing. So, you know, coming back to Chicago and being with all the Chicago Bear fans and celebrating with them will be a really special moment.
Let me just ask secondly, how is your life different as a Hall of Famer? Cheryl kind of mentioned that, you know, you get introduced as a Hall of Famer now, but how has your life changed now? Do people view you differently? Do you get more opportunities? Do you make more appearances? How has your life changed?
Well, I do a few appearances. I don't do a lot because I, you know, with my schedule and work schedule and everything like that, if it's available and it, you know, I can do it schedule wise, I'll do it. I think the interesting thing is, when you show up at O'Hare Airport, a lot of times there'll be people waiting at baggage claim with autographs for you to sign. I still can't figure out how they figure that out, where I'm in town. You know, when I go back to the pit games, you take way more autographs than you did 2 years ago because people want to take an autograph with, or a photo with you. So I think those are the things that I've noticed that have changed a little bit. You know, still the same person. So
So you don't make Thayer call you Hall of Famer or anything like that?
No, he probably should, but no, I don't.
Okay.
Great, thanks, Larry. Next question, Pat Finley.
Jim, are they waiting for you at at baggage claim? What's going on? And can you describe the first time that happened? Because that seems like it would be bizarre in the moment.
I think the first time it happened, Patrick, when I was on the finalist list back in, like, I don't know, December of, what would that be? December of 2019. Because I guess they figure, well, now you got a chance, so I might as well hedge my bets and get some autograph signed. So, and then it's happened since that time several times. So, you know, I mean, I have no problem with that. I think it's great to be remembered. So, but it was kind of an interesting experience the first time it happened.
And I'm curious, as proud as you were of your career, does the Hall of Fame make you look at your career in a different way at all?
I think some people would feel that would validate your career and how you played and what you meant to your team, and, you know, the level of how you played throughout your career. I don't know. I think it does in a way, but it doesn't, because I've always felt really confident, you know, after I was done on, you know, comparing my career with, you know, guys that played in the 80s, tackles that played in the 80s. And I felt that, you know, I played as good or better than a lot of those guys that were in the Hall of Fame. So I didn't feel it that way, but I think it's a recognition then that everybody looks at it and says, now you're a Hall of Famer. So, and that's an important distinction. So I think in a way it does validate your career.
Great, any more questions? Oh, go ahead, Larry, sorry.
You're on mute, Larry. That's the catchphrase of the
Trying to find the button.
2020.
You talked about how you've been spotted at baggage claim, and it's funny because, like, when I've covered maybe a Super Bowl or a Senior Bowl and I arrive at the airport, I always see the autograph people there, and like I said, it's kind of a strange thing. Where is the weirdest place you've ever been asked for an autograph during your career?
You know, that's a great question. I'd have to think back on that to come up with an answer. But you know what? I think the thing about autographs are that if people want to remember you and come up to you and ask you for your autograph, I mean, then I think you're obliged to sign that, because that's kind of, you know, that's kind of the whole thing about playing. If there was no fans in the stands, the guys wouldn't get paid any money, because who would come and want to watch them? So guys that kind of turn down autographs and say they don't want to take pictures and stuff like that, I think is really unfortunate. I think they got to re-examine that, on why they don't want to do that, because I think that's kind of ridiculous. And I understand guys don't want to be bothered if you're for your family, or, you know, you have a bunch of people around you and your friends, and maybe, but, you know, I think you just kind of have to step up and do what's right. So,
How many times have you signed the Blues Brothers poster?
oh God, I can't. Thousands of times I've signed that poster, and a lot of them are still in circulation. So when I do an autograph show every once in a while, they'll come out. They got them all framed up, and then they figure out a way to get people up. But to get everybody on that Blues Brothers poster is pretty hard to do
Yeah.
because people are so separated. And I don't know where you're going to get Bortzy out of a tree somewhere.
I was going to say, yeah.
Deer hunting down in
he's,
Illinois. So unless you want to climb a tree during deer season to get him to sign it, I don't think you're gonna have everybody.
Yeah, I heard he's a bit of a recluse, but you never
Yeah.
know. What was that whole experience like? I mean, you've been asked 1,000 questions about playing for the '85 Bears, but I mean, you were a team, like you said, I mean, even on great teams, sometimes the offensive line isn't recognized. You guys were like rock stars, like you had the Blues Brothers thing going. You guys, McMahon was like one of you guys too. What was that like?
Well, I think it was really good. I think the Blues Brothers poster gave us a little bit of notoriety. But I always felt that our offensive line really didn't get the respect league-wide that we deserved. And the reason I say that is, we led the league in rushing 4 years in a row. I mean, that never happened before. I think back in like the 30s Bears or something like that. During their run when they were winning all those championships, and then I think we finished second twice and third once in my career. So when you think about that, you think about these other teams that had Hall of Famers on their offensive line, and multiple Hall of Famers on the offensive line in the 80s that never led the league in rushing. So you're thinking about that and you're saying it's kind of a weird deal that we weren't getting the respect, and I think it was all based that our defense had that notoriety, and rightly so. I mean, deservedly so. They were, I think, one of the greatest defenses of all time. But in '85, we led the league in rushing, we led the league in time possession, we were second in the league in scoring, led the league in first downs, and that makes your defense pretty good, even though people don't want to admit that sometimes. So when you really examine the numbers, when they're not on the field and you're controlling the ball, makes your defense pretty good.
Next question, Cheryl Ray.
Jimbo, do you find it interesting that your team is the only team to win a Super Bowl and all these years has been vacant of that as far as the Chicago Bears organization?
Yeah, I am. I mean, I thought they had a really good chance when they played the Colts in Florida, and that whole rain game and everything. Plus, they were playing against one of the best quarterbacks ever. So that was difficult. And I just remember when I was playing, in the early '80s, and we would always hear about the '63 championship team, and I remember Mike Ditka coming into the meeting room one time and said, "You want to stop hearing about the '63 championship team? Then win a championship, win a Super Bowl." And I hope the Bears do. I hope they win another Super Bowl. I'd like to hear them stop talking about the '85 Bears and talk about, a team that's going to win, that's a current Bear team. So, that's what I'm pulling for, and I hope they can do it.
What's going to mean for you when you step on Soldier Field ground, and maybe some memories that may come to mind of your playing days?
I just think being there with all the fans and celebrating with them. And it's such a historic place and such a meaningful place in my career, Soldier Field, and been through several different iterations. When I got there in '83, there's a turf field, and then we went to grass, and then they redid the stadium, and I don't know, are they grass now, or they turn their grass again? Yeah. So I mean, I just think that it's such a historic place and has so many memories for all the guys that played there. So it'll be fun getting back and reliving all that.
Thank you.
Next question, Larry Mayer.
Got one more for you. Given that we're playing the 49ers tomorrow, wanted you to kind of recall the situation with Ditka putting the fridge in against the 49ers for the very first time, kind of as payback for Guy McIntyre the year before. What was that like? What did you think of that when you saw the fridge in the backfield against 49ers? And then the next week when he pretty much became an overnight sensation in the Monday night game against the Packers, what was that like? Because I think there was one play where he almost steamrolled you.
Yeah. I try to get as low as I can to make sure I didn't get hit. But no, I just think that whole thing started in '84 when we went out there and we didn't play very well, and Jim McMahon wasn't playing, and we beat the Redskins at their place, and we went out there with a lot of confidence. They were just a better team than us. And when we got off the field, they well, first of all, before that, they put in Guy McIntyre, as you mentioned, to kind of rub it in our face a little bit. And then when we got off the field, the 49ers players are saying, bring an offense next time. So we looked at that as a motivational factor at the whole offseason. In fact, on the plane on the way home, we were talking about championship. And when we went back out there, that's exactly what we did. We took care of business. I think we beat them pretty good. And that's when, Mike put in the fridge. We worked on that week. And it was payback. I mean, that's what it was. So, I mean, that's kind of how the way the NFL was. Now, probably you wouldn't be able to get away with something like that. You'd offend too many people. But they did. And then he became an overnight success. And it was a lot of fun. Watching that, because he's such a great kid and deserved everything, and just watching him kind of enjoy it was fun.